Chapter 28. The Greatest Magic of All. The Enchantress frantically paced back and forth in front of her throne. Her hair anxiously swayed above her. "Say it again," she demanded. "But I've already said it 10 times, Red said, still kneeling before the fire. "You'll say it 100 times if that's what I ask you," Esme yelled. Red did what she was told. "I, Queen Red Riding Hood of the Red Riding Hood Kingdom, give my kingdom to you," she said. Esme looked at the fire and waited for a change. But it remained the same, just as high and just as strong. The Enchantress slammed her hands on the arms of the chairs. "What's wrong, Esme?" Rumpelstiltskin asked. "It's not working," she screamed. "I don't understand. I've been working on this for centuries. I had everything I needed." Charlotte was sobbing hysterically in the birdcage. "You horrible creature," she cried. "How could you do that to a girl?" "I told you to shut up, woman," Esme yelled at her. She could barely think. Charlotte continued her sobs, mourning louder in spite of Esme's screaming. As far as Charlotte knew, her daughter was dead and she was never coming back. Connor had been in shock since it had happened, but as he watched the Enchantress struggle, his spirits started to rise. Esme needed all seven of the deadly sins and the air of the magic to activate the portal. Maybe his sister had successively taken her pride. Maybe she had finished the wand and was alive. "That dreadful witch Agatha must have lied to me," Esme yelled. "The fire should have grown into a portal into the other world. As soon as I conquer the past, present, and future, and master the 7 deadly sins, lust, envy, sloth, greed, gluttony, wrath, and pride." A strange look came to the Enchantress's face as she thought on the spell's ingredients. She looked at the spot where Alex had been standing when she was blasted into the sky. To everyone's spirit, a giant smile suddenly appeared on Connor's face. "What's wrong, Esme?" Connor said. "Did a little girl take away your pride?" The Enchantress jerked her head toward him like a hawk finding its prey. "What did you say?" Esme said sharply. "Connor, what are you doing?" Froggy whispered to him. "Don't make her angrier," Jack said. Connor ignored them. "I said a little girl took away Esme, the Enchantress's pride," he called out, so everyone in the Coliseum could hear him. "That's why you can't complete your spell." A whispered murmur spread through the Coliseum between the kings and queens. Was Connor just taunting her, or was there truth to what he said? "Silence!" Esme ordered them. "If you think my pride could be taken from me, you're all insulting your own intelligence. Bring the boy to me." The vines lifted Red back against the wall and placed Connor in front of the fire. "No, Charlotte, don't you dare hurt him!" "Butter boy!" Trobella yelled. Connor wasn't afraid. "Are you going to kill me, too?" he asked. "As a matter of fact, I am," the Enchantress said. "Oh, good one," Connor said spitefully. "Way to make yourself feel better, Esme. Killing another innocent child. Rather having nothing and a big heart than everything and no heart at all." Oops, wrong part. Killing another innocent child really shows how prideful you are. Oops. What are you going to do next? Club a couple baby seals? The Enchantress had enough of him. "Any final words?" he said. Connor had to think about it, waiting to make whatever he said count. "You're ugly and you smell bad," he said. "And where I come from, everyone thinks you're green with horns." Esme raised her hand in his direction. Connor braced himself. "Esme, look!" Rumpelstiltskin yelled and pointed to the sky. Flying toward the Coliseum was a large white horse with massive wings, and its flew closer to the Coliseum. The Coliseum gasped when they saw who was steering it. "Alex!" Connor screamed. "You're alive!" Charlotte screamed from the cage. The horse landed in the center of the Coliseum, and Alex jumped off its back. She commandingly raised the wand of wonderment at the power and pointed at the Enchantress. "Miss me?" Alex said. The Enchantress couldn't believe what she was seeing. As if her day could get any worse, she waved her hands and the vines dragged Connor back against the wall. Alex, don't waste any time, Connor yelled as he dragged off. Just zap her! Strike her dead! Esme waved her hand again and the vines covered Connor's mouth. The Enchantress glanced sideways at Charlotte in the cage and suddenly drawn on her. She wasn't the fairy godmother's granddaughter after all. Esme slowly strode over to Alex, looking up and down lay. She was an interesting piece of art. So, you're the fairy godmother's real granddaughter, I take it, Esme said and began circling her. Alex never lowered the wand. She was ready to strike if Esme showed any sign of doing the same. It's interesting that we have so much in common, Esme said. We're both from the same place. We both have magic in our blood. We both possess extraordinary ability. We're nothing alike, Alex snapped. I could never do all the horrible things you've done. A smile appeared at Esme's face. That's where you're wrong, she said. You see, I came into this world just like I'm assuming you did, full of excitement and promise. I want to do so much good work, help so many people, and I give as much as I could to those who needed me. But then I learned a very harsh lesson. The world doesn't always give back. I'm not a tragic case of the world. I am the world. Cruel, unfair, and not a fairy tale. People are not born heroes or villains. They're created by the people around them. And one day when your bright-eyed, bushy-tailed view of life gets its first taste of reality, when bitterness and anger first run through your veins, you'll discover you're just like me, and it'll scare you to death. Alex shook her head and gripped the wand even tighter. No, Esme, I'll never be like you, she said, because I would rather have nothing and a big heart rather than no heart at all. Everything went quiet in the Coliseum as Mia's hair was flowing above her out of control. Oh, snap, Connor yelled. You need some ointment for that burn, Esme? Esme waved her hand and the vines covered Connor's mouth again. You're brave with that wand in your hand, Esme said to Alex, but I like to see you cross me with out of reach. Alex knew this was her moment. If she wanted to defeat the Enchantress for good, this might be her only chance. Fine, Alex said, and tossed the wand to the ground. I don't need it. The entire Coliseum gasped. Alex, are you crazy? Connor yelled through the vines covering his mouth. Pick it back up, pick it back up. The Enchantress roared with laughter at Alex's carelessness. You stupid girl, she said. You must have a death wish. I don't need a wand to defeat you, Esme, Alex said. Whether I have magic in my blood or not, I'll always have the most powerful magic of all inside me. Compassion. And I have enough inside of me even for you. What? The Enchantress said, amused by her foolishness. Alex took a deep breath, praying what she was about to say would strip Esme of her powers forever. Esme, on behalf of everyone in this room, I apologize for what the world put you through. And I forgive you for all the havoc you caused trying to heal Exit. I'm sorry for your family was killed when you were a little girl. I'm sorry no one was there to comfort you when you had your heart broken over and over again. I'm sorry the fairies never showed you the kindness they showed everyone else. I'm sorry you felt revenge was the only way you could piece yourself together again. Everyone was looking back and forth between Alex and Esme like they were a tennis match. Connor covered his eyes, afraid he was about to watch his sister be killed for real this time. The Enchantress was taken aback by what Alex had to say. It had been the last thing she expected to come out of the girl's mouth. Esme didn't know what to do but laugh. She threw her head back a number of times and let a malicious laugh erupt and grow from inside of her. Apology not accepted, Esme said. She pointed her finger at Alex to blast her into the heavens again, but nothing happened. She pointed her finger again. Still, nothing was happening. Esme tried with her other hand, but only got the same result. Esme's hair gradually lost her magenta color and faded into gray, falling in her face, one strand at a time. The fire in the center diminished more and more by the second, until there was nothing left but skulls. The vines around the Colosseum squirmed like dying snakes, loosening their grip and releasing the people that had held against the wall. "No!" Esme screamed. "No! This is impossible!" The room watched in astonishment as magic slowly left the Enchantress's body, and Esme faded into an elderly and decrepit woman, too weak to stand on her own feet. The Enchantress has lost her power. Alex closed her eyes and, possibly for the first time all day, exhaled. She turned back to her brother as he brushed up the linen vines off his body. He, along with everyone else in the Colosseum, stared at her with enough pride to knock off the ceiling, had there been one. A 13-year-old girl in a headband had been able to do what no one of the crowned monarchs could. As Mia withered away, she fell to the floor and crawled on her hands and knees. A small cackle came from her, and she grabbed the hold of the wand of wonderment left on the floor. "Alex, behind you!" Connor screamed. Alex turned to see Esme pointing the wand directly at her. As she held the wand, her body and her magic were restored. Her hair flowed above her head, and the fire in the crater ignited again, and the vines began to vibrate with life. It started dragging people back to the walls. Without time to think, Connor grabbed hold of Goldilocks' sword and ran toward his sister, slicing the vines as they tried seizing him. Esme glared at Alex with an evil smile on her face and her eyes. "Maybe I was wrong," the Enchantress said. "Maybe I will have my own happily ever after all." Alex froze where she stood, petrified to her core. She couldn't believe how quickly the situation had changed. In a matter of seconds, she had gone from victory to defeat. A bright blast shot out of the wand and toward her. Alex closed her eyes, knowing it was the end. This is how she was going to die. "No!" Rumpelstiltskin yelled. He came out of nowhere and jumped in front of Alex. The blast hit him in the chest, and he fell to the ground. Esme watched in shock as the fatal blast meant for Alex had hit the only person she had ever considered a friend. Connor arrived at the Enchantress's side and sliced the wand of wonderment in half. The wand was destroyed. The magic drained from Esme's body, and the enchantments around the Colosseum faded once again. Alex went to the floor and held Rumpelstiltskin's head up in her lap. Alex dropped down next to her, but there was nothing either of them could do. "You saved my life," Alex said to the little man in her arms. "Why would you do that for me?" Rumpelstiltskin was gasping as his eyes grew heavier by the second. "I just wanted my brothers to have something to be proud of," he grunted weakly. He smiled up at the twins, closed his eyes for the last time, and died in Alex's arms. "Oh no," Connor said. "Poor little guy." A heavy wheezing came from nearby. The twins looked across the floor to see Esme crawling toward them. Her body was decayed and wilting at a speedy rate. "Looks like you won," Esme wheezed with difficulty. Alex and Connor looked at each other, disgusted. Even as they held the body of her only acquaintance, all Esme cared about was her legacy. They looked down at her with most pitying eyes she had ever been viewed with. "No, Esme," Alex said. "No one wins when there is a loss." Esme rolled onto her back and stared up in the smoky sky. With one last rattling breath, her body rotted away until there was nothing left but the memory of what she had been. With nothing to validate the anger that powered her livelihood, the Enchantress's body and soul disappeared, casualty to compassion. The kings and queens and fairies brushed the vines off their bodies again and happily embraced one another. The nightmare was over, and their kingdoms were safe once again. King Chance and Cinderella held Princess Hope, and Cinderella wiped away tears of joy from their exhausted eyes. Sleeping Beauty wouldn't let go of King Chase. It was the first time in weeks they had seen each other. Snow White and King Chandler helped Rapunzel brush all the leaves out of her hair, which was a several person effort. Fred kissed Froggy repeatedly over and over on his big frog head. Jack tried dipping Goldilocks with a romantic kiss, but her fugitive reflex caused her to flip him over the shoulder by accident. Trobella walked over to Connor. Hey, listen, Trobella, I'm very flattered, but I'm not really interested in... He started, but the Troll Queen silenced him again with the index finger pressed in his mouth. No, Butterboy, let me do all the talking, he said. I understand this day has been hard on you, but watching this squishy girl almost die, and then narrowly escaping death yourself, I just wanted to let you know I am in no rush for our wedding, whether it's 2 days or 2 weeks. I'll be waiting for you. Thanks, Connor said. Trobella winked at him and walked away, leaving him even more confused before. The Fairy Council went to the glass jar in front of the golden chair and one by one opened the lids and released the souls trapped inside. The twins watched as the souls of the baker, the locksmith, and the soldier happily flew from the jars and disappeared into the sky above, free at last. The spirits of the king and the musician hovered in the air behind the others, though waiting to join the other spirits. The ghosts of old Queen Beauty and Gloria floated into the Colosseum and up to their long-lost loves. They flew around, over, under, and through each other, finally reunited after centuries. Gloria the musician looked at the twins and bowed thankfully to them before disappearing to the sky with the other spirits. The ghosts of the king and old Queen Beauty looked lovingly down and waved at Sleeping Beauty and King Chase before disappearing as well. Who was that? Sleeping Beauty asked her husband. King Chase looked up in the sky and smiled. Well, I suppose there are guardian angels now. Jack chopped through the lock of Charlotte's cage and she ran to her children, throwing her arms around. Mom, the twins said in I have never been so proud of you in my life, she tearfully exclaimed. That makes 2 of us, a voice said behind them. The twins turned to see their grandmother. She had just been released from the jar and was back to being her old solid self. The twins got to their feet and gave their grandmother an enormous hug, feeling so grateful they finally could. Grandma leaned over and looked proudly into Alex's and Connor's eyes. You two amaze me more and more as you get older, she said lovingly to them. Your father would be so proud of you. Alex and Connor smiled at each other, knowing that wherever he was smiling down at him too. The winged horse neighed loudly from the side of the Colosseum. Hey, Alex? Where did you find a flying horse? Connor asked. Alex's happy grin suddenly faded. Oh no, I forgot about Bob, she yelled. Grandma, can you change him back for me? Fairy Godmother laughed. She retrieved her crystal wand from inside her robes and waved into the horse's direction. A bright beam of light traveled to the tip of her wand and spun around the horse until he was regular Dr. Bob again. He shook his head and found his balance, dizzy from the transformation. Bob? Is that you? Charlotte gasped. What are you doing here? I couldn't let you have all the fun, could I? He laughed. Charlotte ran to his side and kissed him. The twins had to look away. He won't believe what he went through, Connor told his mom. He was almost eaten by bears and sharks, and he was captured by the sea witch, and we'll let him tell you all about it, Alex said, while dragging her brother away. She figured it was best to give them some privacy. The twins and their grandmother walked to the edge of the Colosseum and looked out over the charming kingdom. The sun began to set, painting the sky a beautiful rosy shade. I'm sorry we ran away from the house, Grandma, Alex said, trying to sound genuine but also trying to hide a smile at the same time. Yeah, Connor laughed. I feel so bad about that. Would he even try to be sincere? He didn't even try to be sincere. Their grandmother shook her head and looked at the sky, finding a smile of her own. What am I going to do with you two? She said. Magic lessons, I think, would do you some good. That way you wouldn't sink any more houses. Oh, I totally forgot about that, Connor said. Sorry we sunk your cottage, Grandma. Magic lessons? Really? Alex asked with large eyes as she hopped up and down. I think you've earned it there, Grandmother said. As long as your mother is fine with it. After all this, I don't think she'll ever be able to tell us no again, Connor said. What was that, Connor? Charlotte asked, and she and Bob joined at the edge of the Coliseum. Oh, Connor said, and turned bright red. I was just saying, you may have difficulty telling us no right now because we saved your life. Charlotte squinted at him. I gave you life, she said. You're never going to top that. Connor tried laughing it off. I was just kidding, he said, although there was obviously an element of truth to it. The reunited family of 5 looked out over the land around them as the sun set in the east. It also set on the reign of the Enchantress, and the twins could feel the Land of Stories sigh relief. It was a paradise once more. That is the end of chapter 28. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more from the Land of Stories, The Enchantress Returns, and more to come. Also, if you have really good recommendations for me to read later on, don't forget to comment down below. Give me good suggestions for me to read. And overall, hope you have a wonderful day and you enjoy the read.